Hi, my name is Ilya. I'm senior front-end engineer at Gitlab, manage import team. And this video, I would like to demonstrate how easy you can contribute to Gitlab front-end with the help of Gitpod. Well, talk is cheap, show me the code. So let's jump to the browser. And for this demonstration, I've created a new account, so I do not have any special permissions on Gitlab repository. And so, since I will need to create new commits, I will need to fork it. This will take a while. I've done it in background because it will take minutes. And after that, you will see, originally it will look in this way. You will see your repository, and here we will go with Gitpod button. We will click it. It will ask one time if we will want to allow Gitpod to be used globally in our preferences. So we need to click it once again, and it starts the dark magic. What is this dark magic behind? Let me explain. First of all, there is a long and complex way of setting up GitLab development environment. We have a special repository named GitLab Development Kit. But as you could see, there is a list of supported operating systems, and oopsie, I'm running Windows, kind of intentionally. Actually, I'm a Linux user. So, what we doing instead, we are using Gitpod, which creates a specially crafted Docker container and runs it on remote Gitpod servers. Gitpod is providing a free tier with 50 hours per month available, so that should be a pretty significant amount of time available for you to make your first, second, or whatever contribution. With Gitpod, you could use either browser, which I will show in this video, or just use your desktop Visual Studio Code, or use your JetBrains IDE, WebStorm, PHPStorm, PyCharm, RubyMine, whatever, to start working with. However, I've seen, it's just my personal opinion, several reports that there are issues with JetBrains remote development, at least for now. Personally, people were experiencing issues with Preter not formatting code properly and needing some hoofs and jumps to get it set up properly. So if you have a choice and you have no strong preferences, I would like to suggest you to go with Visual Studio Code, and I'm actually using it constantly. While we are setting things up, let me stop on certain important things in terms of front-end development. In GitLab, we have design.gitlab.com. It's our design system, and it is still starting. Here you can see all the components we have in our UI and so on and so on. But what we are interested in actually is Gitlab Ui Repository, which is implementation of these components. So here we have a link open in Storybook, which opens it. Pretty familiar Storybook, and you can see all the components you have, how it feels, how it looks like in terms of source code, and so on and so on. So you can see some documentation. Some of these components are based on Bootstrap View library. So taking a look at bootstrapview.org components also might provide you a hint and a number of examples. Still creating the content here. However, another thing is that we are not using Bootstrap CSS. Instead, we are relying on utility classes, something similar with Tailwind, you might be familiar with. So in order to look for proper naming of these classes, we will go to GitLab Ui Repository, go to src, SCSS, and we will go to utility mixins. don't be confused that this is mixins. During compilation, we will transform each mixin to a separate class. And let's assume we want to understand which colors do we have and what is the naming. So, for example, for orange color, we have classes named dot. Obviously, if we speak about CSS selector, the class will be named gel text orange 400, just for example. So this directory contains an ultimate list of all classes we have. So I will probably try to refresh. No, it is still preparing. Obviously, this is a one-time setup each time you are starting your work, so this shouldn't be a problem. Another thing to know is that we are using Vue.js for creating things, and most of new GitLab features are relying on Vue.js. We are still using Vue.js 2, at least for now. But also you will find a lot of legacy JS, jQuery. We are trying to use as few jQuery as possible, so this is mostly a legacy code which was never touched. While initializing, you might want to take a look at where I could find any issues to start with. So let's open the repository. And yeah, I know this is a pretty amazing number, 42,000. But since we are front-end persons, we will use label is frontend. Okay, it will be, come on, update, less. And the best second label is seeking community contributions. This label usually means that this task is available, has enough level of details, how we should approach it, and usually, let me demonstrate, has an implementation plan how you should approach this issue. However, everyone can contribute, and we are not limiting the issues you could contribute to this label. Another label, which is kind of legacy, but still is accepting merge requests. If you just take a look. However, even if you find an issue you would really like to implement and there is no relevant label here, just feel free come to and ask if you could take it. People will come and we will be usually happy to help you. So here my Visual Studio code in the web started. We see the notifications that I could open it in desktop, but we are still not done yet. We can see two terminal windows opened. One is currently doing setup. It is GitLab backend is written with Ruby on Rails and Golang programming language. So right now it installed Ruby dependencies. Now it is installing Node.js dependencies, and so on and so on. And the second terminal is related to working with GDK, which stands for GitLab Development Kit I mentioned previously. And right now it is also busy doing final installations. Okay. Meanwhile, let's take a closer look at directories and how they are organized. Let's assume I would like to take a look at this one. How I can find it in the code? Taking a closer look at the code in GitLab might be quite complex. The project is old and I bet no one understands fully how it works. So I will just pick some quite specific text, pick up search and pray for the best. We see a lot of results in locale directory. This is translations. I'm not interested in them, so I will put it to exclude. And yay, we have a one result directory telling that, hey, here we go. And this is the Vue.js implementation of that. How the Vue.js application is initialized. Let's take a closer look at some you need to look to index.js file. It's usually named in that way. So here we importing this app. GitLab is not a single page application. So there are a lot of separate pages and there are tons of different Vue.js applications, which are relatively small. Some kind of micro frontends, yay. So this is it. And if you take a closer look here, you will see that we are fetching something from dataset on element, which we are initializing. And you could think, why do I need that? Let's take a look how it feels. Let's take a look at the source code. And here it is. It has data that here, data there, data that, and data that. Why we need that? We need that because GitLab could be installed in a root of domain, like gitlab.yourcompany.com, or it could be installed into the directory, yourcompany.com/gitlab. That usually means that certain things need to be tuned, like what is the path of the help where it is located? And backend is aware how GitLab is configured. So to deal with that, we are passing such things as a data. So data working with project help path, this is the generated URL for help. Let's take a look how it looks in the HTML. So I will just search again for this JS new project creation in our code. So, and here we go. It's html.haml. Frankly speaking, since I'm a pure front-end person, I'm not a big fan of Haml. But hey, whatever we have. We can see that here we go, there's a data, and here we are passing something like new project guidelines, which could be configured. And here we are passing this working with projects help path with this one. Another thing to know is that usually, let's go back to the Vue component. Usually when you are changing something to your components, you need to update tests. And getting the tests, the path for the test is usually pretty straightforward. You just replace this app assets JavaScript path with spec/frontend. Spec/frontend, new components. Projects, obviously. New components, app spec. So it is named app view, app spec. And here we go. It's a short spec file implemented with Vue test utils. I know that might be dealing with our tests might be problematic, so feel free to reach to me or any GitLabber for help. We will be happy to help. But to simplify navigations, what I usually do, we have the .projections.json file, which we will need to rename to .projections.json, removing example. And we will need to install exception. One second, I'm constantly forgetting how it is. It's probably not available for VS Code for web. What a pity. Just curious to check. So projectionist, I believe it is called. Yep. So nope, it's called alternate file. Let's try to search for it if it is available for web. Unfortunately, no. What a pity. By the way, all required extensions are automatically installed. And meanwhile, we are reaching the final stage of our setups. Waiting for GitLab at https://something. And here comes the browser. Just for simplicity, I'm going to close this and open it at in new browser tab It's easier for me. So let's wait. It's a final wait, I promise. And in a few seconds, we will be presented with a fancy GitLab UI setup just for you. So, you will be asked for credentials, login and password. You don't need to dig too deep to find them. Here we go. Just go to the first tab, and here we go, root and this password. Don't care too much remembering it. Why? Because you will be forced, sorry, I made typo. You will be forced to immediately change it. We are using incremental builds for Webpack because GitLab UI in terms of applications is big. So you will see this message from time to time. So just repeating same password and setting something new. And logging once again. For some reason, when running first with Gitpod, you are redirected, at least for now, to this weird URL. Let's click home. This is 1 second project, and yay, we are done, almost. Working on certain issues requires you to have enterprise license. It's pretty easy to get one. You go to menu, admin. We will see. You will go to subscription. Wait for a second, because we're building this small Vue.js application here. And in few seconds, you will see, start free trial button. You will need the license for GitLab Self-Managed. Just fill in this form, and in few minutes, you will receive a license to your email. But since we are currently in process of migration from this kind of legacy licenses to cloud subscriptions, it should not go not here, but instead, this might be a tricky moment. You should go to Settings, General, scroll it down. Actually, we do not need an application here. We already have an access, and you will see this button. Add a license. And that's how incremental build works, but usually you are working with just a small subset of screens, so it does not annoy that much. Enter license key, paste it here, agree, add license, and yay, for next 30 days, you have a fully featured GitLab available for you, so you can debug and contribute. Basically, this is it. All relevant links will be in descriptions of the video. If you have any trouble, don't hesitate to contact me anywhere or any GitLabber. We will be here to help. The link to the Gitter channel for contributors will be also in video descriptions, and happy hacking!